It's always like your birthday with a package from China, so let's go. Yes, it's the time again for a package from China. But in this video I got something I think it's quite interesting, and that's what we're going to talk about today. It's the classic arcade game station, professional design and reliable quality. But I'm just joking, because I mean, like, when you're looking at the box itself, it's kind of funny in many different ways. And one of those, I say, the highlights is especially this part. Top brand components and chipset. You know, like they're putting such a weird things on the box. It makes no sense. But let's open it up and let's see what are we going to get. This is actually interesting. It looks very nice on the picture, but how is it when you're going to play it? Let's do a quick unboxing. Let's do just a teardown of everything. I think it's a very cute product. But always the question, what are we going to get with the software? In here we do get a lot of components. Think about the power supply, a very long, nice flat HDMI cable, and all other kind of goodies. And here we have the system itself to begin with. The system, yeah, so this is not going to be a good thing. The Friends box. For the people who follow me here, yeah, I have already reviewed it, but this time it was with like 2 controllers. I'm curious if it's going to be exactly the same product. But nevertheless, if you didn't see this video, we should check it out and consider subscribing and give this video a like if you like some old school stuff and some old school emulation. I picked it up because I really love arcade. Also, what you're going to get are some spare buttons, and we're going to get 2 controllers. So when it comes to the controllers, there we're going to get some mix sometimes. And I mean with the mix, like, sometimes you're going to get a very cool product and sometimes going to be very horrible. So we do have like the suction cups, I'm saying it correctly, on the bottom. We do have like, yeah, so this thing needs some freaking batteries, 2 times AA. We're going to implement the batteries later on. What I do like about it is the way how this feels. It comes with your typical China Senwa clone joystick, but the buttons. I mean, I really like it, you know, like these micro switch buttons, and I can tell you, they've got a very nice click. The downside is we do have like a very long travel, and the configuration is kind of weird, because it's shaped like a wave, and we do get some extra buttons at the top. Like, it's kind of weird and also cramped here in the space, because they're like very tiny controllers. And I understand they have like all the buttons you see over here. We're going to need it for a certain function. Think about select, credit, start, or getting back into the main menu. Alright, so let's take a close look inside of the controller and what are the modding options. Alright, so let's lift it up. And what you can see in the inside, so this is quite interesting. So we do have like this tiny encoder board over here that also includes the freaking like wireless connectivity. So let's take a close look at this tiny board, because this is the board and basically it is everything in one. In other words, this thing is also the wireless connectivity board for the 2.4 gigahertz connectivity, and of course it also has like the encoder board built inside everything in here. We have like some black blobs, and you have an indication which button goes where. Oh, the camera picks it up. Here you can see it over here, A, B, X, Y and stuff like that. Then is this is a quite interesting one. We have like these GPO pins, or you were thinking it looks kind of like a GPO pin, but the end is like this plugged in the joystick in here. So it's interesting in my opinion. It's just interesting to see how they made everything. The battery compartment, you can see like it has been plugged into the mainboard over here. So it's a quite interesting concept when you're looking at this tiny board. At the top we're going to get ourselves like your typical tiny button configuration, so you can just replace them if you want to. Ray mentioned I really love the clickies joysticks. Whew, there's not a lot of space over here where you can see, but we can replace the joystick. It's not going to be your typical Senwa clone. That is in fact because you do have like different connectors over here, or better said like a different bracket. So not every single joystick will fit in this, but oh man, it doesn't look great. You can see like it doesn't fit all the way up, but it makes contact. One of my buttons already have been like pushed out. That goes a little bit too easy. Okay, but this is what you're going to get in the inside. Nothing much, but it's just fun to see how they configured everything. Let's do a quick overview of the system itself. It's a very tiny box. Most of the time what you see over here is an old Android box. They basically reconverted in something else. We do have 2 USB ports. Basically we're going to use 1 USB dongle. Take consideration that we're doing having 1 dongle, 2 controls. I really love this configuration, especially if you're going to get yourself an extra set. You have 4-player option, of course, for the games that have support by this. Then we're going to get an SD card, depending on the sizes. This is 64 gigabyte. Sometimes you sell it 128 gigabyte. But the biggest difference what you're going to get are like, let's say games like PlayStation 1. Like PlayStation 1 takes up the most space, and that's the reason why they implement like a bigger SD card so you can store more games. We're going to get ourselves an RG45 port. We're not going to use it, by the way, because but the Rust box doesn't really utilize the internet option. Then we have like an AV out, but also the AV out doesn't really work most of the time. An HDMI out and input for the power supply. And of course an on-off switch. That is not common with these freaking things. When we're going to turn it around, there's nothing much to see over here. Later on we will do a teardown just to see what kind of specs we're going to get. Alright, so I swapped some batteries in the controller itself. Another thing is that we do have like the same menu like the Pandora Game 3D, and that is a positive thing. And the reason I'm saying positive because I personally really love the layout of this menu. So when putting the batteries inside the controller, it will automatically detect it. So it's kind of interesting. We do have some different options. To begin with, we have all list. Then we do have like star, and that star thing, it's kind of weird because yeah, this is more like a favorite list. And the downside to this is that we don't have any categories. And with the previous one, we have like categories that can switch very easily between everything. But now we have like one big list. And in my opinion, they completely like messed it up. Pressing start brings me back to this option. There you can see that I cannot do anything whatsoever. So the menu is absolutely downgrade when it comes to the freaking, let's say, Pandora's Box series. Okay, so let's search some games. And that is the thing that I always love to try just to see how it works. To begin with, let's see if we can even boot up some Mortal Kombat. Yeah, we do have Mortal Kombat over here. It does give you the indication over here what you can see, like what kind of platform it is, so that's a positive thing. But let's boot it up and let's see how it runs. With these older boxes, but also let's say different models, Pandora's boxes, we do have like a very long loading time. I don't know if there's any indication how fast it will load. Normally we do have like this tiny, let's say, loading display, but nothing seems to be working or doing anything. Let's wait. Let's cut the video over here. I think it took me like around more than 2 minutes to load up, and this is the result I'm getting. Alright, so wow, I can tell you this is absolutely like a new level of shittiness, because in my previous video we had like some pretty damn poor emulation, but it doesn't even display anything. So let's do a return to the menu, let's boot it up again, and yep, I need to load up all the way again, and let's see what happens now. Attempt number 2, I just wanted to see what happens, but nope, nothing happens. So that is unfortunate. So when it comes to Mortal Kombat, I cannot even test it because it doesn't even boot up normal. Okay, so that is a thing that I also wanted to show you, like what we're going to get. So let's see, like Ultimate Mortal Kombat. I think this is a stuff that you're basically like finding on the box. You're thinking, hey, Final Burn Alpha logo. Maybe it's a different, like say, main version. But no, most of the time you're just going to get instant boot into the normal console versions. So, you know, it's kind of messy. Like, it's not a great start. You can see, like, it doesn't even load up, by the way. Oh boy. I have been looking into how to get in the settings menu, but there is nothing that seems to be working. Also, my joystick doesn't do anything, so I'm guessing I need to switch between the number 1 and number 2, I think. Alright, so kind of weird that you can navigate through the menu. There's also no indication which controller is what, so it's absolutely like a freaking nightmare. So let's put the battery in the different version or the other controller. Let's see if I can... Yeah, there we go. I expected that this was the problem. Let's see how the performance in general is. It's the same stuff that we have seen before. The weird thing, we do have like an 8-bit controllers, but all the button configuration is so weird on these things. You can see it's a stutter, you will see some glitches and other stuff. You can see the wibbly feet. It's just a typical problems. I personally really love the buttons. You can just hear the click on the microphone, I know for sure. The joystick is also very responsive. Okay, so when you're looking at the button configuration of both joysticks, you can see like this is just number 2, because there is no back button over here. The weird thing is like I couldn't use the first controller or this version with the pause button, what normally is the play one in the PP SSPP emulator or PlayStation Portable. So in my opinion, it's absolutely like nightmare. So somehow you need to play with Play 2, but you need to go back with the Play 1. What the hell? Alright, so let's try the two controllers configuration. So that seems to be working fine, or... But, so if you want to play with one player, you need to get basically the one without the pause button. Alright, so not a big of a deal, but kind of confusing. Whatever it is. But when you're looking at this quick load, quick save menu, it's pretty damn awesome if you ask me. But it doesn't work with every single system. Like with PlayStation Portable, the issue that I've seen before with the previous Pandora's box, or basically like everything that has the same menu. Unfortunate, they didn't fix the issue, but let's go back and let's take a close look at some other games. Alright, so next up I wanted to try some PlayStation, and I can say like it runs very well on this box. So we do have like the limitation for PlayStation Portable. PlayStation 1 runs very good. On original aspect ratio option, like 64:490, but of course the emulator basically stretches into this. It's unfortunate, and there was no way of basically setting it in to the original aspect ratio in the software itself. I can also like adjust the monitor if I want to. I think that's cheating. The software should like put an option in it for aspect ratio, but it didn't do it after all those years. Let's move on to N64. A little bit difficult game to emulate is F-Zero X. You will notice that the will stutter here and there, but I'm curious how the overall performance is. I think they managed to get N64 to run on these cheap boxes. Playing this with a joystick is actually like a nightmare in my opinion, but okay. I think it's manageable. But what you can see with the gameplay, it runs very very well. But take consideration if you're going to deep dive into some games of N64, some of them will not run perfectly. Or not great at all. Especially when you're looking at the more demanding games. Funny thing is like they did remove a couple of them. Think about Cruising USA, if you're going to add this one to it, it will not run great. Another test bench I wanted to try out is the Art of Fighting 3 for Neo Geo. If they use a different emulator or wrong emulator, or they don't have enough power in the machine itself, it will not run perfectly. But you can hear and see it runs very well. I really love the controls of this thing. The configuration of the buttons is absolutely amazing. I don't know if it's going to be perfect for Neo Geo players, because they tend to mess things up. But it does use the same configuration, like an original Neo Geo system, when it comes to the button layout. Next up, Blood Bros, and this is for the audio. Let's see if they messed it up. Alright, so it seems to be that they had not a wrong emulator pre-installed on this, so that's pretty damn nice. Normally the music sounds really slow, we don't have any sound effects whatsoever. But I can tell you, playing this game on the couch with two tiny controllers is a lot of fun. Here it comes, yeah, music. Yep, and this is exactly the music I'm always missing. Beep, 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 bump. Alright, so next up let's try some GBA. You can clearly see that we do have like some weird filters on here. Let's see which button I freaking need to press, because everything is messed up. And to be honest, it's like this HD filter doesn't look that bad. There is absolutely a big sound delay again. Oh yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to GBA, it's always like a hit and miss with these things. And also the sound is completely messed up. Not like supposed to be with the original system. Alright, so Heli, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Sometimes you find the weirdest like homebrew editions out there. They just give him a different color. But let's take a close look at the friends box, or better said, let's take a close look in the inside. So when it comes to the software, I must say that I was not really satisfied there. We did have some issues, and I don't understand it. Why we have like the Pandora's box, for example, with the category system. I was flabbergasted to see that they just removed it. It was so much easier if you just want to scroll through the list of N64 or PlayStation Portable, something that you added. Okay, so I completely also forgot there are only 2 freaking Parkers in here. So let's remove these. Then we'll remove this one. If I'm having it correctly, you can just basically like click it open. And that's what we're going to do. Let's remove the SD card to be sure. Take consideration like SD cards cannot be swapped out with another product. I did try it in the past and I can tell you it's not going to be ending well. Most of the time what you're going to get is that the SD card is going to be configured for a certain, let's say in Pandora Box 3D, and you cannot use it in a different system. Alright, so is there still unscrew in here under here? Oh yeah, it is. Oh, Wicked messed it up. So this is what we're going to get in the inside, and it's going to be the same stuff that I've seen many times before now. So the first thing I've noticed, like we do get this very big metal plate, and wow, it's getting really hot. And I don't know if it's going to be smart if you're going to put it upside down, and I will explain later on what I mean with this. But because there are some cooling methods you can use externally on the device like this. But in overall way you're looking at it, like it's a very good thing they added a very big plate because this thing is getting really hot. And it also implements for the mainboard itself. So it's very difficult to remove this. I can try to peel it off. You can see like they used a lot of that special, I think it's more like the special glue they're using to glue the freaking like the CPU cooler on. There's no active fan. I wish I used that. I really love those. But I have like a shitload of RAM modules. I think that was like around 2 gigabytes if saying it correctly. Here we have like the Wi-Fi capability. So it's basically your typical board that we have seen before, and the same also implements for the specifications most of the time. Just your old school like Super Console X in a different form factor. Despite I cannot remove the cooler, I can already tell you like specification wise it's the same stuff that we have seen many times before. Think about the Pandora Games 3D, but also the Super Console X's. It's like similar, like say kind of hardware, but they are like implementing different kind of software. So this software I'm not a big fan of, not like only the layout is. It's one of my favorite ones for the Pandora's Game 3D, but they removed the category system and many different extra features. And yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer in my opinion. It's old school, like it's like this old school green board. I don't see any like say production date, but I would not be really surprised that this is old tech that they slapped in a new box. It's recycling, that is one thing to be sure. The Friends box also has been like say sold by different companies just with a controller. But when you're looking at this configuration, it is something new. We did see something similar, but did not with this configuration when it comes to the software. The joysticks are pretty damn awesome. They're tiny, so they are like, in my opinion, more comfortable to play than the big ones I have seen with Pandora's box. So with the official Pandora's box things, you're going to get these gigantic like joysticks that you need to put on your lap. I think this is more comfortable to play. The weird thing of the configuration is that the Play 2 has the return button. It's kind of weird, so especially when you want to play alone, you need to grab yourself the different controller to go back in the main menu. It's kind of weird choice if you ask me. Besides that, I really like these tiny buttons. I have a nice like click to it, but it's more personal of course. And the joystick, it's a very long one, but I think when holding it, it's absolutely like playable this way. But again, it's depending on what you like prefer yourself. I think the positive side about this thing is if you just want to play some old school two-dimensional game, think about MAME, Neo Geo, Super NES and Mega Drive, this thing can be pretty damn awesome. But I thank you for watching, consider subscribing, hit that little bell, become the Wicked family, and it would be great to see you in the next video.